Yeah. Is that removed all of it?
Okay, I'm testing this out. Okay. Testing. So we are filming. All right, whenever you want to start.
And we're going.
Good.
I can't actually believe that we're here. Connected sums up the project so well because we've connected 9 different designers. We've connected your workshop digitally to each one of those studios. We've connected them to timbers that they haven't used before or aware of. This is a time where we've not been allowed to connect in the way that we normally would.
We've got 9 very, very different interpretations, because you'd think probably their functions are fairly similar, but from the 9 personalities have produced 9 completely disparate and very personal solutions to what they need to invest in their working environment.
This crisis has suddenly thrown us into our homes, and suddenly you're there sniffing and looking and with these choices and leftovers around us, and suddenly spending 3 months on one chair. Furniture suddenly means even more than before.
Since the beginning of the lockdown, which started for me on March the 12th, so I've moved the entire office home and working with my assistant remotely via mainly Skype or FaceTime.
We wanted to see the pandemic as a chance to rethink our work and our way of working together. And so it was a very challenging times. So it was also an interesting period for the creativity.
I think the AHEC project is very interesting because it's something which is really now a new way of communication.
I think what's interesting, it's partly the process, it's partly the way that these things are being made, but it's also the way that designers are having to actually look afresh at their domestic setup and think again about things that maybe some of them haven't thought about for years.
I've realized that the biggest change of all, it's actually to sit down peacefully with the ideas. And that's quite amazing because I haven't done that for 20 years.
Once the seed was planted, then my brain is thinking about what does it mean to be connected? What does it mean to be connected in 2020? What does it mean to be isolated in Switzerland, in a tiny town? What does all of that mean? Then I started to think about how we see the natural formations that feel like reaching from the core of the earth up to the sky. And that's when I started looking at rock formations and seeing the connection to doing a project in the UK and the Giant's Causeway.
Being in lockdown in Tokyo, one of the things that we've really missed is going for walks in the countryside, walks in the forest, and having wood in your home really gives you a connection to nature.
We have a need something stronger to be able to touch real materials, really it has become maybe more present.
If someone had asked us to design a desk a year ago, it would have felt it was something that was slightly anachronistic as an idea and maybe harder to engage with what angle to come at that would produce a fresh outcome. And the COVID crisis meant that there's a new energy and importance to this sitting that we've all been doing.
I needed something that was mine, a station of reflection that I could leave and then
everything would still be as I left it. I really needed that in my home life, that a place where I could leave everything as it was. Yeah, to create a place where I could connect myself to the world again.
So much of how we use wood contributes to, the sustainability and the health of the planet. So, the opportunity to work with wood and find ways to be conscious and aware of the effect that our use of wood is going to have on the planet in 2020, is an important project for me to be a part of.
So yeah, I've just started recording. One of the most exciting things about this connected project is that it connects the design and the architectural community directly back to the forest, and sort of just like the painter's palette, it's a forest palette. Part of the magic of the forest is that it is a sustainable model to begin with. And it's up to us to make these connections and these discoveries about how can we better utilize them. And by expanding utilization, you increase the probability for sustainability.
The best communication we've done about our material has been when we've engaged directly in projects, designers and architects. And the most important message still for us is to expand the range of the species, because we're thinking long term for our industry. I wanted to do a project that had not just red oak in it, but also cherry and the maples, because as a group, they represent over 40% of all standing trees in the forest.
Our first choice was the red oak. It felt more modern, but there's something that grew on us about the cherry. It was very warm. It makes you want to reach out and touch it.
We're in a very good location for cherry. As you can see here, we get some pretty nice cherry logs around this area. As long as we can move lumber and keep it moving, and there's a market for it, we can keep our land in timberland, which will not only benefit the market itself and the product itself, but it also keeps the area in forested land, which keeps our air clean, keeps our water clean, and gives people a place to recreate. Cameras on.
Okay, I'm Jameson French. I am the president of Northland Forest Products in Kingston, New Hampshire. My dad was a great believer in growing trees for his grandchildren and wanted this area to be a model forest. And we worked hard over the last 5 decades to return a lot of this to healthy, sustainably managed mixed hardwood and pine forests.
To me, the maple had a few qualities that I found very intriguing. The narrow veins of the wood and the very soft touch of the wood. It just has this very sensible touch. It's so white and light. It has an almost invisible presence. So the material in itself becomes very subtle and just easy to be around.
Do you have enough?
In a COVID-19 world, it's going to extend and stretch a process that was already underway. The whole video communication thing with designers and the whole process of creating at distance was underway. What's really going to be different about this project is that there will be no physical interaction with the designer in the workshop.
We've always got a reason to communicate, a really serious reason. It was that thought of, can we still do it in this evolving situation where everything was changing? And a realization, I think, also that all our designers that we would want to talk to and reach would all face the same situation we were in. The brief was an obvious one. We designed something for home living. I don't think we realized when we started the project how relevant that brief was.
We got this box, and there are beautiful colorways and beautiful treatments of the surface, so it was really different
to normal approaches because we got really inspired by just the material.
Hold your sample up to the camera.
Most of my work is actually produced in a workshop directly downstairs from my studio. So it's a very close relationship and seeing and touching everything all the time. But I think that was actually the most exciting part of the collaboration, that there's really this like trust in them. There was a lot of back and forth. So that in a way was a very luxurious way to work with a company without being able to be so close to the object and still feeling like everything was completely under control.
What's so exciting about wood is it's really one of the earliest materials that humans have manipulated. I mean, I've learned a tremendous amount about furniture and making chairs from Benchmark. They really managed our expectations early on with the steam bending. They made the leg and the back in that one sweep. That was really remarkable.
Okay. And it's a song about rebirth, new beginnings.
Benchmark, they understand very soon, very quickly what we wanted to have, and so they propose finishings, they propose some solutions. So it was a very close relation.
But yeah, I think it looks really good.
The collaboration was even closer because sometimes you have 3 visits at a company and then you discuss, and then you come next time, then you discuss again. But between those 2 visits, there's no communication. Now it was really a ping pong, a great dialogue the whole time. But of course, physically to be there, to smell the wood, to see the dust and things like this, it's always amazing.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And so it's sort of tantalizing, trying to use all the resources in your brain about 3-dimensionality, but through this 2-dimensional medium, and trying to predict and imagine what something could be like when it turns into those 3 dimensions. So it will be very interesting to come along to your own private view.
Amazing.
Staging something like this as a kind of leap of faith and to trust in the process to produce something engaging and interesting that will fundamentally shift the way you see certain things, that's not a bad remit for any museum.
First time flying again and coming to an amazing space. And then stepping up the staircase here and see the Stammtisch. They really did an amazing job.
It's teaching everyone to slow down, that we don't need to get on a flight all the time.
The forces of the wood, so if it moves,
We are absolutely happy about it because it was actually a surprise. Of course, we see it through Zoom or whatever. This is the first time we saw it, and we are really, really happy, especially for the quality of the finishing. Definitely happy.
It's like the first item that we've really designed for ourselves. We wanted something that was quite timeless and that we could live with really for the rest of our lives.
I know the project by heart and every line, the curves, but there's one element that you don't get really while designing it. First, the physical presence of the material, but also the physical aspect of the piece. So really the whole thing of constantly touching it, and this really has a nice presence.
My instant reaction was, I completely recognize this piece. It's like, it's my piece, I know it very well. Being able to be in the same space as the piece, I was very excited about that. The pictures didn't even do it justice. I mean, these are fantastic.
It's quite scary seeing something that you've worked on and never had a chance to pre-review before it goes on show to the public. And the process instead has relied on a huge amount of communication backwards and forwards and trying to review with imagery. So coming here now, I'm actually thrilled. It's come out really well, and it's also a big testimony to Benchmark's craftsmanship. It's really fantastic.
been a great experiment. Today, it's possible to be home and be able to do a great job. If you're creative, you can still create, you can still be positive, you can still do beautiful things with a human touch.